All right, today we are tackling a weapon that doesn't need a warhead to throw a country into chaos. We're talking about modern disinformation. And listen, this goes way beyond just fake news. We're looking at a carefully built system designed to get inside our heads, to mess with our trust, and to change the very way we see the world.
And to really get a grip on just how dangerous this is, who better to ask than a master of the craft, right? When the former head of the KGB, Yuri Andropov, said this, he wasn't just being dramatic. He knew exactly what he was talking about. A steady diet of lies doesn't just give you the wrong facts, it actually rewires how you think. It turns you into an addict for a reality that isn't even real. That's the threat we're diving into today.
So yeah, we're not talking about one-off lies here. Think of it more like a massive machine, a kind of poisoned well that's contaminating our entire information environment. And here's the crazy part. Sometimes the goal isn't even to make you believe a specific lie. It's to create so much noise, so much confusion that you just doubt everything. You get cynical, you check out, and that right there is a massive threat to how a democracy is supposed to work.
Okay, so who are the folks actually poisoning this well? It turns out there's a whole cast of characters in this ecosystem. They've all got different reasons for doing what they do, but they all end up creating the same chaotic mess. So let's meet the players. First up, you've got the big guns, the state actors. These are the highly organized, super well-funded operations. The report we're drawing from today really points to Russia as a key player here, taking old-school KGB tactics and just supercharging them for the internet age. They use this stuff to control people at home and to stir up trouble abroad.
But it is not just governments pulling the strings. Next, you have a group the report calls the zealots. These are the independent activists, the true believers. You know, they're typically united by a really deep distrust of governments and the media. And because they genuinely believe the conspiracy theories they're spreading, they are incredibly passionate and incredibly effective. The scary part? They're not on a payroll. They do it for free because they believe it. That makes them kind of the perfect unwitting soldiers in this info war.
And finally, we have the hustlers. For these folks, it's not about politics or belief, it is all about the money, pure and simple. They churn out the most outrageous, clickbaity stories you can imagine because every single click means more ad revenue. They're the ones creating all the digital fog, that background noise that makes it so easy for the states and the zealots to hide what they're doing. See how it all fits together? Okay, so we've met the players. Now let's peek inside their playbook. We're going to zero in on Russia's strategy, mostly because it's become the gold standard, the blueprint for modern deception. It's been perfected over decades, and now it's been totally weaponized with digital tools. Now, it's really important to know that not all state actors are playing the same game. Just look at the difference between Russia and China. Russia's game is often offensive. They want to project chaos outward, to find the cracks in other countries and split them wide open. China, on the other hand, is mostly playing defense. They're building this massive cyber fortress to control information inside their own borders. So one wants to poison your well, the other wants to own their well completely. Two very different strategies.
So Russia's playbook, it boils down to this really nasty but super effective principle: vilify and amplify. It's a three-step process. First, you get your troll farms to generate a bunch of fake stuff, false stories, fake documents, you name it. Second, your state-controlled media outlets like RT and Sputnik amplify it. They blast it out to a global audience. And here's the final ugly part. You vilify anyone who calls you out on the lie. You unleash this tidal wave of online attacks to shut them up.
Okay, so that is the strategy. But you might be wondering, does all this online chatter actually matter in the real world? You know, does it have real consequences? Oh, you bet it does. The evidence is pretty overwhelming. Let's look at Brexit. Get this, right after the vote happened, a whopping 5% of the Twitter accounts that had been pushing for leave just, poof, disappeared, vanished. That's a classic sign of a botnet, a ghost army of automated accounts that shows up, amplifies a message, and then vanishes into thin air once the job is done. And this stuff isn't just about votes. It gets a lot darker. We see these same tactics on the actual battlefield. In Syria, for instance, Russia has used this consistent playbook to cover up attacks on civilians. First, they just deny it ever happened. Then, they try to relabel the victims, calling them fighters to justify the attack. And finally, they launch these vicious smear campaigns to discredit anyone who witnessed it, like aid workers.
And by the way, none of this is just speculation. Everything we're talking about today comes straight from a workshop report by Canada's own spy agency, CSIS. The fact that intelligence agencies are holding workshops on this tells you everything you need to know. This has gone from being some niche internet problem to a top-tier national security threat.
Okay, so the threat is real, it's organized, and it works. Pretty grim, right? But it is not hopeless. So how do you fight back against a weapon that's aimed squarely at your mind? Let's take a look at the response.
Well, there's no silver bullet, that's for sure. You've got to hit it from all sides. It takes governments pushing for regulation, researchers doing deep dive analysis to spot the botnets, and fact-checkers providing real-time exposure, debunking this stuff as it happens. And, maybe most important of all, it takes education for the rest of us, so we can all get better at spotting the fakes ourselves. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most critical question here. It's a question for all of us, really. In this wild new information landscape, are we just the victims? Or are we also playing a part in creating it, in spreading it, and, hopefully, in fixing it? It's definitely something to chew on the next time you go to hit that share button.